Today, 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 everyone, I have a special guest in the studio today. My little one. The one that's been around and been in my life for almost 15 years. Of course, anyone that have a child, has a child, has that roller coaster experience up and down and around and about. But it's experience that I would never trade in. It has its nuances, but hey, I love every moment of it. And having talks with my child, my only child, is one of the best experience a father could have with a daughter. So on that note, let's so Ayani,
Hello.
how you doing? How you doing? How you
I'm
doing?
doing great. How are you?
I am doing great, my little
That
one.
was great. That was great.
All right, now we're gonna have a relaxing, candid conversation.
Can I say something?
Oh,
Am
definitely.
I able to be funny?
Yeah, you can be yourself.
You know what's crazy? He was just giving y'all that speech, but he wasn't acting like he wasn't yelling at me 10 minutes ago. Arguing with me 10 minutes ago. You know, my father yells at me a lot, y'all. I'm just letting y'all know. He be yelling at me. So he just gave y'all that speech 5 minutes ago, but 10 minutes ago from there, he was just yelling at me. Okay, I'll just put that out there. I'm faking it.
Well, anyone out there that's a parent knows that, as I said before, we have the roller coaster up and down. Because if she says something that's wrong, I will correct it. If she says something with a grammar that's incorrect, I will correct it. And I give her the freedom to also correct me when I make mistakes, because, of course, I'm human too. And every father, every parent, every mother needs to have that relationship with a child, with their child, so the child can feel comfortable with being themselves around a parent. And so I gave her the freedom. I told her mother many years ago that I would like for her to be able to express herself freely. So as she grows older, I would know who I'm dealing with, and not when it's too late, I'm wondering if, who's that? Is that my daughter? It's like, I don't know this person. And I never want to be one of those parents where someone comes and says, Ayani did this and Ayani didn't do this, or anything that they say, it wouldn't just be Ayani didn't do that, or yes, Ayani did. I want to be sure where I can say, hey, I don't think Ayani would do something like that. And of course, we still have to be wise enough and open enough to know that if someone does say something, we have to take it with a grain of salt, or at the same time really assess it. So I give her the freedom to allow herself to be who she is as she's growing up, because it's very important. I always express that to her mom. Let's allow her to be herself so she can flourish and be comfortable enough to speak to us. And so I'll let her give her feedback on that part.
Honestly, I don't really have any extra feedback, but I'm happy to say, because I know most people can't say that, like, they can come to, especially their father, they can't really come to their father and be like, hey, I'm able to say A, B, C, you know? Like, they
Right.
can't be fluent with it. But I guess what I'm saying is that I'm grateful that I'm able to come to you about a lot of stuff that
Yeah.
a lot of kids wouldn't be able to come to their dad
Right.
about.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, listen, I remember when uh, before she ever arrived, I told her mother, I said we're going to have a girl because I felt the morning sickness. I was the one vomiting, and she didn't know for the first 2 weeks or so that she was pregnant. And I remember I woke up one morning and I told her, I said, hey, we're having a girl. And she's like, how do you know? I said, we are because I dreamt it. I know exactly what she's going to do, when she's going to do it, and how she's going to do it. And she said, how do you know that? I said, because I dreamt it. And I tell you, when she was born, everything that I dreamt came to pass. It was almost as if it was deja vu for me, because the same way I saw her crawling from the room door over to meet me at the couch and pull herself up, um, holding on to my knee and pulling herself up. Everything that I dreamt in the dream happened, and it was airy. My hair lifted up, like stood up on my body, because I was like, wow, everything I'm dreaming is coming true. And lucky enough for myself at the time that I was working from home, so I was able to have her with me, and so I ended up being the one teaching her to walk. I ended up being the one teaching her to read, spell. We went through all these different uh, uh, parts in our life, getting to know each other as a father and a daughter. I tell you, one particular thing I remember when we were driving and I had my music playing, and I remember I had music up loud and I turned the music down and she started wailing like, "Ah, ah," and I had to turn the music back up because she was like bobbing to the music. And we got to a stop sign and she looked over and she saw a truck and a tractor, and she was like, father, look, what's that?" I was like, "That's a tractor and a truck." And I went to explaining to her what their purpose is, for what they were doing. And every time after that is as if she always look out for a truck and a tractor, and she would call certain things a truck and a tractor, and I would have to explain to her that no, that's not a truck or a tractor. And do you remember when you were learning to read,
Yeah,
and
of course.
when it was tumultuous for you to learn to read, and how it started getting you to read by playing food games when you wanted to Chinese food?
Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm so sorry y'all had to hear that monster's laugh. At first, when you were describing it, no. But as you said it, when you said Chinese food, I said yes.
Yeah.
Because I know that I used to like Chinese food a lot. Like,
Right.
you used to order it a lot. So in order for me to get certain things I wanted, you'd be like, you have to spell it and you got to say it properly, pronounce it properly and everything. I mean, it really paid off, though. Because,
Right.
like, certain people, when I get in social settings where I know for a fact I need to be more proper with myself, and,
Mm-hmm.
people say that, like, I know how to enunciate my words properly and things like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And of course, I get on you when you.
Yeah, can I be honest with the podcast?
Of course, that's what we're here
Podcast
for.
Think and Say, I think it's really annoying when he does that, because I think he fails to understand that you can talk a certain way when you're with your friends. There's no reason for you to be calling me out when I can understand excuse me, if we're in a social setting around like contractors, or just in a social setting that's like for you, if that makes sense. Right? I could understand if you want me to speak proper. But when I'm around my friends and we talk the way we talk, there is no reason you should be upset. It's not like, because I know it's a respect thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like at the age that I am now, Because am I allowed to tell the podcast or no?
Yeah, you're 14.
I'm 14.
Almost 15.
Almost 15. I'm 14, almost 15. And I think I talk extremely well for how I do now compared to most people, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like when I'm with my friends, any of my friends or people my age, I shouldn't be forced to speak proper because I'm around my friends.
But I always say, practice don't just make perfect. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. I got the cause.
Practice don't just make perfect. Practice makes what?
It makes perfect.
No, I always say practice make permanent. That's why I said.
You do say that.
Practice.
You do say that.
Practice don't just make perfect. It makes permanent. Because once you practice something, then it's almost as if you're forced to speak or act a certain way when you're around certain people. But when it's become permanent, you don't have to fake it.
I disagree.
You disagree?
I disagree so much.
Give me your feedback.
You know how mom is.
Right.
You know the setting that I am around when I'm with mom.
Right.
Compared to when I'm with you.
Correct.
I'm sorry, y'all. If y'all gonna hear me step away, hold on. Okay, so because I was very young and I was back and forth between you and mom and you, right? I was able to learn when to speak properly and when you don't have to. It's called code switching. I'm very good at code switching. I'm going to be honest. I'm good at turning it off and on. It doesn't feel forced for me.
Forced?
It doesn't feel forced for me, particularly because like I'm used to it. So right now, how the podcast is hearing me, I can't guarantee y'all I speak like this on a daily. I can't. But y'all are hearing me speak properly because we're in a proper setting. You get me? So I don't really feel forced when I do it.
All right. So, like I always say this, that when you, like you say, code switching, when you do code switching, our brain tends to go in a comfortable mode, and once we become comfortable with the certain way we act, a certain way we speak, then we're relaxed. And if we get around a certain group of people and we get comfortable and we don't know if they're necessarily watching our behavior, and we fall back in that comfort zone, it tends to fall to what we are comfortable with doing, and we don't know who's paying attention and the repercussions that may come from it. This is why I always get on you at certain times, say, hey, don't speak properly.
Yeah, because you never know who's watching you for real.
Exactly.
And like how people are now, especially with like body gestures and everything. When you move a certain way, you flaunt yourself a certain way, you walk a certain way, people are always going to categorize you, So I know that's important, but like, I'm saying this maybe because I'm young, so it's probably going to sound immature, but I feel like I know who to be comfortable with and who not to be comfortable with. You know how I am. You know that my friend group, very small, because, I'm not comfortable with everyone. Like, I can be friendly, I can be cordial with people, I can coexist with people, but speaking in terms of like, I know who to be comfortable speaking around like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I do understand that. It's just because we live in a society where people are judged regardless whether you like it or not. We're judged on many fronts, in many metrics. We're judged.
Yeah.
It's not something that we can ask a person to do or not to do. They're going to do it because they want to do it. Right?
Yeah.
And for that reason, I'm always on you about making sure that you do things the proper way. All right? Speak the proper way.
Oh, that's so boring, though. I'm just saying that because I think again I'm saying that because I'm young. So from my young perspective, that seems very boring.